This is the Tech and Tunes Show, a program that brings you the latest info and updates on technology and plans to create an innovation and networking platform.
My next question to you, are there any management trends or tech trends that you'd like to share with my listeners?
I was telling you just this morning that I've recorded a music album with Ethiopian musicians, my wife, and musicians from Yared School of Music. We've been recording with the help of musicians on the platform Fiverr. It's a really great platform for getting studio musicians to work with you. I found a lot of violinists there, especially a man named William Stewart, who's coming now in October, and I made friends with Dr. Mulatu Astatke.
Still on that platform?
Here in Ethiopia. And I've told him about the project, and he introduced me to more musicians, and we're going to have a performance at his club, at the Gion Jazz Club, at the last week of October. We haven't set the date yet, but this will be the first time the musicians all come together, and the whole album is available now on whitneyvandel.com.
So you have a whole album that you prepared by collaborating online.
Yes, this album that's been recorded, it's a very ambitious project that's been undertaken for over a year. And we've got trumpets, we got entire string orchestras, and with 4 violins and a cello.
How long did it take?
Over a year. It started over a year ago, and I had time here in Ethiopia with my wife, who's also a musician. So.
My guest for today is Oscar Wendel, who is into a lot of things, including management, TEDx, music, and so on, as you've heard it. And the track that we played before, Maxi Priest, was from the album, which is an instrumental album that you prepared.
Yes, it's available on whitneyvandel.com. Vandel spelt Vandell, and it is the product of an online collaboration.
Perfect. So you can get it from there. 8444 for your texts. Once again, Oscar, welcome.
Thank you.
My first question to you, probably you have also been to the Exab Hadis. You have met a lot of young entrepreneurs trying to finalize their projects, ideas.
Very impressive scene. I've started mentoring there as well.
Exactly. So my question, being a team of 1 or 2 individuals working on an idea could be difficult, as time goes on, difficult to manage themselves and so on. So what would be your advice or advices for such entrepreneurs in managing themselves, managing their time, their projects, and so on?
I think 2 words: be useful. And by that, I mean not just be useful yourself in seeing what needs to be done, but make sure that everything around you is useful. Filter the information you take in, filter the people you surround yourself with. A lot of things that you do is simply time wasting, not just when you sit surfing on the web, but when you network. People mistake networking for having huge contact lists or a lot of friends on Facebook or LinkedIn, but it's actually about choosing the right people that can be useful to you. And the same thing when you take in information, when you read the news, think about it when you scroll what you're reading. Do I need to know this? And sometimes you hear the same news 10 times in the same day, and it's taking up your mind capacity. So a lot of the time it's about isolating yourself and making the most use of your time and resources. That is what management is all about.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically shutting off the noise, the consistent noise.
Yeah,
so that
selecting.
they can focus on the work.
Yeah, and understanding. I think that's what entrepreneurship is about. Having initiative, creating something new of value that is of need in the marketplace or solving a problem, and being able to be perceptive as to what that is. That's the most important skill of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but at some stage, instead of trying to make the project or the product better, it's suggested that it's better to have, a first draft or the alpha version of the product,
Yeah.
and then go on connecting with people who could be investors, who could be marketers, who could be first customers. So how do you balance those two?
I think it's always important to keep moving forward in every aspect, to try and get supporters, partners, people to work with you. If they see that things are happening, even if you're failing, at least you are moving forward, and the expression fail fast.
Very fast.
A lot of the time, and I think it's the same for entrepreneurs all over the world, they sit and work on a business plan for a year, and then they try and tinker with some idea they have, and there's extremely little implementation going on, and it's purely theoretical if the idea is going to work or not, when in reality what matters is, are you able to put it to market or not?
It has to be able to sell.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's impossible to know what's going to work or not going to work, or if you're able to implement it or not at a price that the market is willing to pay, unless you are trying it.
Oscar, my next question for you. We talked about, the lone entrepreneur having difficulty managing their time, managing their networks, managing the noise, as you mentioned. But eventually, it always is up to the execution level, up to the implementation. So if you have any takes on that, anything that you could say on that, would be great.
Yes, I think that entrepreneurs in general is a concept that is misunderstood generally, that people think that being an entrepreneur is about innovation and coming up with new ideas and getting other people to do the work for you. Being an entrepreneur is making things happen, whether it is bringing in other people to work with you, but most of the time it's doing the work yourself. And how good your idea is largely irrelevant. You can have a bad idea and make it succeed with good implementation. But there are countless examples of good ideas that fail because of bad implementation. And I think some good examples of this is where you see it very clearly is in the consumer and food market. The cracker Ritz and the Oreo cookie. I mean, no one would say that the Oreo cookie is their favorite cookie and it succeeded because it's so good tasting, or that McDonald's is their favorite food and thereby they are the biggest restaurant in the world. All these are examples of exceptional implementation, exceptional distribution, marketing, getting out to the consumers, consistency. It's all implementation. It's not the case that we had a superior product and from the superior product grew the superior distribution and marketing. And I think that from this perspective, you can see how, as an entrepreneur, it's not about coming up with the most amazing idea in the world and then everything grows from that. It's more about the implementation and getting the job done.
Yeah, because a common question here is people come up with all sorts of ideas, different ideas, and then they are confused on which one to choose.
Yeah.
But I guess it's all about choosing which one is near to their heart and executing it. That should be the goal.
And doing the work that's required. I think there's a really good quote, to paraphrase Henry Ford, is that people miss opportunities because it comes in the form of hard work and in work clothes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Another segue to another question. We talk about entrepreneurs a lot, and there is always a debate that whether an entrepreneur is born or made.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Well, to go back to what I said earlier about the concept or the perception of what an entrepreneur is, I think people in general have this fixed idea that an entrepreneur is a certain type of person. But an entrepreneur is just a definition of someone who can get something done and be of value. And what personality traits such a person has is very different from entrepreneur to entrepreneur. Some people have the skill of bringing in other people that can deliver their vision, or what they bring to the table is that they have a good idea with a vision and a roadmap, and they have the people skills to bring together the different talents and abilities to get it done. Another person might be have a very unpleasant personality, and everybody hates him and nobody wants to work with him, but he might be the world's most brilliant engineer.
Yeah.
And he's so good that people can't ignore him, and people simply cannot turn their back on his brilliant ideas and ability to make a superior mousetrap.
Exactly.
So to answer the question, are entrepreneurs born or not? I think yes and no. People have innate personality traits.
Mm-hmm.
Having the ability to make use of them, I think, is very environmental. And I think in Sweden we have an expression that hungry wolves hunt best. If you're too comfortable in your life, or you've grown up in a family with money and you don't really have to work that hard, it's not an ideal circumstance to be an entrepreneur, because you got to have the desire to prove yourself, to succeed with something. And with that is very environmental.
Very true. My take is also that, you can find from each aspect, an entrepreneur that seems to be born with it, an entrepreneur that made himself or herself. So you can find both examples, which means that from different walks of life, an entrepreneur could come forth. My next question for you is, at the ICT hubs, or whenever you meet an IT expert with some project or some idea, some startup concept, they reach to a certain level of a product, and then their most concern is lack of finances. In the West or in other countries, probably there is a lot of resources around funding, around investment, whether it's in the form of venture capitalists, angel investors, and so on. So what would you advise entrepreneurs in the case of, in the context of Ethiopia, who are always complaining about lack of finance?
Well, some reflections on that. In the West, I've got experience from incubators from Europe and also in Rwanda. It's the same discussion everywhere in the world. They complain about having access to finance. And to be very brutally honest on that point, a lot of the time, entrepreneurs don't ask themselves the question why they need finance in the first place. They have the wrong focus. And a pretty typical scenario you get is that somebody is given a grant, or they get some public funding to run a company for 6 months, and the money is actually counterproductive to them. They have no idea what to do with it, and what they do is it enables them to waste more time. And as the money runs out, what they do at the end is start trying to find new grants and funds, and at the end there's no product any closer to being marketed. So I think what my advice is in general is to try and understand the business plan or the sales points to an investor. Why should they invest in your service or product? And the obvious answer is because it's going to make money. But if there's no clear proof that you have something that has a viable chance of making money, there's no one who's going to be investing in you unless you're going to be getting public funding. And just getting some sort of a prototype in the market, the best sort of market research is to actually try and sell a product as if you already have it. Approach companies or someone that would be your target audience for this product, and present the product as if it's already in existence and just being about to be launched, and see, would they buy it, and at what price would they buy it? And if you see I can't sell the product, you see that even if I am able to get it to market. It's going to be difficult to sell it. And if you are able to find people that are interested, then you have potential investors, because then you've found the people that see the value and see the use of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's true. It reminds me of the movie on Steve Jobs. They deliver a set of Apple One computers without the screens to one shop.
Yeah.
And then he asked them, my clients complain about such and such resolutions and so features. And then Steve Jobs turns him back. That's on our next version. They don't even have the product.
Yeah.
So,
and even Bill Gates, it's the same story. When he developed the operating system from IBM, he was bluffing. He gave the impression that he had more than he did.
And then they went out and bought an operating system for $50,000 dollars, which everybody's calling now the deal of the century.
And I mean, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. They had the ability to see what was required, what was there a demand for in the market.
Yeah. But the good thing about these guys is that they don't just bluff.
They're
they make
able
the statement,
to deliver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They will deliver. They know
That's
they will
the
deliver
difference.
it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if they just make that statement and if they don't deliver,
yeah, and
goes
I
to
mean,
the
look
next
at
one.
Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Neither of them did anything. They did talk, but they also delivered in the sense of getting the right people to deliver for them.
Yeah. Interesting. Dear listeners, this is the Techie and Tunes show on Afro FM 105.3. We're almost reaching the end of our show. We'll come back to you after playing one music track. Don't forget to text us on our SMS line 8444. The time is running.